Welcome to the Reindl Report, a podcast out of San Diego, California that rewrites the definition of mediocrity.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
So come along for the ride as Paul Reindl takes you through the world of sports with insight, interviews, and incredibly bad jokes.
It just seems like the people that are so butthurt about it.
Did you throw a butthurt out there?
Yeah, I said butthurt.
2005 calls. They want their turn back.
Yeah, walked right into that one.
Now, here's your host, Paul Reindl.
Still loving that new open. Still loving that new open. That sounds so good. Way better than what we had before. It's like we got a professional to help out or something around here. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Reindl Report, episode 29. This coming out on a Wednesday, as these podcasts tend to do. October 26th is the date, the week of the 24th, I guess, if you want to start on a Monday. And boy, do I got a lot to talk about. Mostly with the NFL, but you know what starts this week? Yeah, the World Series. Definitely going to go there. Probably going to start there. Cleveland and Chicago. Going to be a hell of a series. Definitely got some thoughts on that. Something that I think that Padre fans should really be paying attention to this World Series, and I'll explain why in a little bit here. Want to talk about the Chargers. Big win on the road against Atlanta. 33-30 in overtime. An overtime victory. Things went the Chargers' way for once. Pretty shocking, really. It was crazy watching that game. I'm thinking, okay, well, Julio Jones, something's going to happen here in overtime. Chargers make a 4th and 1 stop, kick a game-winning field goal. It's like, what is this? I don't know. It was a very nice change of pace for Chargers fans for sure. Fun game to watch. Definitely down there in the Georgia Dome. Got some thoughts on that game for sure that I want to hit on. Lots to talk about in the NFL. I got a bone to pick with the NFL, and I know I'm beating a dead horse here with this one, but you know what? I haven't said it yet on the podcast, so I'm going to say it now. Well, not right now, but I'm going to say it on this episode. The NFL is a bunch of hypocrites, and I'm getting sick and tired of it. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, and we got to talk about the NBC Game of the Week. Oh, baby, we got to talk about that. Seattle and Arizona, easily the worst game I think I've ever seen in my life. 6-6 tie. In overtime. I mean, oh my God, that was just terrible. And, I've heard some devil's advocate there for sure. Like, oh, there's two great defenses. I'm going to get to all that. But first, I want to start in the World Series. Cleveland and Chicago. Chicago Cubbies, look, they won the most games in the MLB this year. They were the favorites heading into the World Series, heading into the playoffs. That's no surprise there. They're stacked. They've got the pitching. They've got the offense. They're a damn good team. They're managed by Joe Madden. I don't have to say I think. It's pretty unanimous. He's one of the best managers in the game. He truly is. And then on the other side, Cleveland, who was solid all year round. And I will have a slice of some humble pie because I didn't think they were going to get to the World Series. I really didn't. I didn't think they would. I didn't think they'd make it to the ALCS. I thought this was going to be Toronto or Boston in the World Series representing the American League, and I couldn't have been more wrong. But I don't mind being wrong every now and again, at least. I don't mind being wrong. Cleveland, they've got a solid team, and they're managed by Terry Francona, who's won 8 straight World Series games. 8 straight. This guy, he has done a masterful job managing this Indians team. Just absolutely brilliant how he's managed that bullpen, the subs that he's been making. I mean, God, there was that game in the ALCS when Trevor Bauer, the moron, when he cuts his finger, we're working on a drone or something at home, cuts his finger, goes out, tries to pitch, and he has to be removed like 20 pitches into the first inning, does not make it through the inning. That is a nightmare of a position for a manager to be in. And he did it beautifully, utilizing his bullpen and still just getting just enough out of them, moving on to the next guy. and keeping them preserved for the most part in case that series goes 7 games. Terry Francona has done a great job with this Indians team. Now, why should Padres fans really be watching this World Series? Paying more attention than they would to any other World Series, let's say that. Because these two teams, they're doing what the Padres are trying to do. They've done what the Padres are planning to do. Okay? The way they've built this team. You look at the Indians, their team is made up of draft picks from 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, and even 2012. That's who make up this Indians team. So you build your young core, develop them in the farm system, and then when you got all the pieces and you just need maybe one more guy to get you over the top, they go out and get a guy like Andrew Miller. You make a trade, make a deal. Go sign somebody, bring in some veterans to mix in with the young guys. These are your prospects. These are your guys, homegrown, that you said that is our chance to make a title run. And look at where they're at now. Boy, it's a good time to be a Cleveland sports fan, huh? The same week that the Indians host the World Series, the Cavaliers, who won back in June, are getting their rings and unveiling their banner at the Quicken Loans Center right across the street from Progressive Field. Pretty ridiculous. It really is. Cleveland was the laughing stock of the sports world for years, just forever it seemed like. Not anymore. Things are looking real good for Cleveland. I mean, their football team is still absolutely terrible. But you know what that means? They're just going to get the number 1 draft pick next year. So an NBA title, potentially a World Series title, and the number 1 draft pick, not the worst scenario for a sports city. And then on the other end, the Cubs, they're pretty much doing the same thing. Okay, they got, a young Anthony Rizzo. Sorry, Padre fans, I know you're not supposed to say the R word. I didn't mean it that way, but Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, these are guys that they put all their trust in. They put all their chips in on them. Addison Russell, Kyle Schwarber. They've got the pitching to go the distance. Jake Arrieta, John Lester. They go out and get a deal similar to Andrew Miller. They go get Aroldis Chapman. Dude throws 103. Now, he struggled a little bit in the postseason, sure, but he definitely was a part in getting them there. Definitely played a role. Now, how does this come back to the Padres? Because like I said earlier, that is what the Padres are trying to do. Not this year, not next year, not even so much the year after that, but down the road. Okay, they're hitting the international market. They're drafting their guys. They've got the wheels. The plan is set in motion. Okay, AJ Preller has a vision. He's got a plan. This is his chance. This is AJ Preller's opportunity. Okay, he's putting a lot of trust. The Padres organization is putting a lot of trust in him that he's got a plan and he's got a vision, and this vision is going to be a winning one. If it doesn't work out, Preller's gone. But they're putting a lot into him because they know it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a couple of years. So they've got that young core. Austin Hedges, Hunter Renfroe, Alec Dickerson, Manny Margot. Okay? They don't have the pitching yet, but they go out in the international market and free agency and just unload tons of cash on these 16, 17-year-old studs that are already, touching mid to high 90s. They just got to fine-tune some things. They'll be ready in a few years. When those guys are about 20, 21 years old, Anderson Espinoza, the guy they got in the Pomeranz trade with Boston, he's getting Pedro Martinez comparisons already, okay? He's like 17. So when you pair that pitching up with the big league talent that we've already gotten a glimpse of now with September call-ups just last month, and you start to develop your lineup, that is what the Indians and the Cubs did, and look where they're at. Like I said, the Indians, 2008 through 2012-ish, okay, building that team. And then, 3-4 years later, they're contending for a title. Padres, that's what they've been doing now over the years. Building that team, starting to get the pieces together, and now the management's saying, 2019, 2020, 3 or 4 years from now, okay? That's why Padre fans should be paying attention to this, seeing how it pans out, seeing how it's supposed to be done, and seeing how it's hopefully going to be done here in San Diego. All right, let's move on to the NFL, huh? Talk a little Chargers. This is, after all, a San Diego-based podcast. Chargers, big win over the Falcons, 33-30. Look, Falcons are one of the better teams in the NFL. And you would not have been crazy to think that this Chargers team that has had their fair share of struggles this year, you wouldn't be crazy to pick them as the underdogs to go on the road to the Georgia Dome and beat one of the better teams, one of the better offenses in the NFL. Well, they did. Took them overtime, but they did. 33-30. That moves them to 3-4, and as crazy as this sounds, after 7 games, they're still in the hunt. They could turn this thing around and make the playoffs, and that sounds insane if you go back just a couple of weeks ago, but this team they're competing. I would go so far as to say, and this is going to be a bold statement right here on the Reindl Report, they're one of the scarier teams in the AFC now. They really are. And I mean, look, just look at it. Okay, they've been in every single game. They're 3-4. They had their issues closing out games. We all know that. We don't need to go there. Okay. I mean, all 4 of their losses, Kansas City, Indianapolis, New Orleans, and Oakland, very close ball games. I mean, they lost by 6 to the Chiefs, 4 to the Colts, 1 to the Saints, and 3 to the Raiders. They have been in every single game, and they were in positions to win all 4 of those games. This team could be 7-0. This team definitely could be 6-1. And this team should be at least 5-2. The fact that they're 3-4 and in all of these games and now coming off back-to-back wins for like the first time in 2 years against 2 of the better opponents they could have had. 2 of the better teams in the NFL in Denver and Atlanta. They get Denver again coming up this week, second time in like 16 days or something. 2 quality wins over 2 quality opponents. And that's with all of the injuries. All of the injuries to significant players on this team. Guys like Keenan Allen, Danny Woodhead, Jason Verrett. I know there's like 10 more. Okay, I know I'm missing a bunch, but really, I mean, Brandon Oliver in the running game. Okay, this team, the fact that they are sticking around and competing is pretty impressive. And I'm eating some crow here, okay? And I think most Chargers fans, if you're going to be honest with yourself, you would agree with that, okay? Everybody was pretty much ready to write these guys off. Fire the coach. Season's over with all the injuries. Well, it's not necessarily over. I mean, I think I saw online they have like a 19% chance to make the playoffs. Okay, not great. Not terrible. Chargers aren't going to win the Super Bowl this year. I'm pretty confident in saying that. But this team is competing, and that's exciting to watch. The fact that they've been in every single ball game. Okay, they can go as far as Phillip Rivers. He's the ultimate competitor. He's not shutting down on this team, okay? And it shows. And even amidst all the injuries, I mean, you can play the what-if game all day, okay? I know that. But if they just had half of their players back, half their players that have gone out to injury sticking around and playing this season, Keenan Allen, Danny Woodhead say, who knows what we could be looking at right now. A 6-1 Chargers team potentially, But given all the injuries, sure, the team definitely had their issues with closing out ball games. I'm not trying to negate that fact at all. I'm not trying to write it off. My point, though, is just that they were in those games. No blowout losses, 3-point losses, 1-point losses, 4-point losses. They've been in those games. And they were, in some cases, in an extremely good chance to win those ball games. I mean, what was it? We talked about it 2 weeks ago, I think. They're 99.9% chance of winning in, I think, 2 of the 4 ball games that they lost. pretty insane that they actually ended up losing those games. But that just shows that this team's in it, and they had to just, I don't know if it's a learning curve or something that they just got to figure out how to close out better. It's coaching, it's young players, it's a mix of a few different things. But that Falcons game, that was a game that we would have expected them to lose. It really was. Being in it so close at the end, giving Atlanta some time, you kind of were just getting ready for Atlanta to win that game. And the Chargers, maybe that's them taking a step forward, right? Winning a close ball game on the road. I was impressed. I mean, I really do think that they're one of the scarier teams in the AFC. I don't know what they're going to be able to do with it because of the injuries, and the injuries just keep on coming. Karan Reed now, lineman for the Chargers, out with the fifth Chargers player this year to get an ACL tear and be out for the season. It's insane. Hunter Henry and Craig Mager, concussion protocol. We'll have to wait and see what happens for them on Sunday against the Broncos. But I do think my guess would be that the injuries will still be too much to overcome if they were to get in a position to make a run, make a serious run for the playoffs or even get into the playoffs. But at the same time, you get into the dance, anything can happen. You just got to get there first. But I do think that this Chargers team, based on the fact that they've been in every single ball game and now they're coming off 2 straight wins against 2 quality opponents, they're one of the scarier teams in the AFC. It's still the Patriots conference, of course. Pittsburgh, I think, is a terrifying team. Even, Roethlisberger's out for probably a couple more weeks with the knee surgery, but real quick, I mean, that sounds kind of stupid to say almost, right? Like out just a couple weeks after knee surgery, but Big Ben says he's trying to get back as soon as possible. And so I still think Pittsburgh would be definitely one of the top 2 teams in the AFC. And anybody really going to argue it's the Patriots. But after that, it's kind of wide open. I mean, Raiders, Chiefs, okay. Chargers should have and could have beaten both of those teams. Buffalo, I don't know. I think San Diego's got a shot. I mean, Joey Bosa, God, how nice would it have been to have that guy for the first couple weeks? I mean, he has stepped up and he has instantly made an impact on this Chargers defense. I don't have the numbers here in front of me, so, I mean, bear with me, okay? But Joey Bosa, I mean, his pressures and his sack numbers are pretty insane compared to the guys that have played, all 7 games and where he ranks on those lists. He is making an immediate impact on this Chargers defense, and it's pretty awesome to watch. I mean, even with missing a couple of games, he's absolutely already in the conversation for Defensive Rookie of the Year. And that is awesome. The guy, he's got the it factor. Whatever it is, Bosa's got it. He is exciting to watch. And yes, it would have been nice to have him through training camp, through the preseason, and at the start of the regular season. But the Chargers are saving a little face here now because it's pretty clear for all of us now what they saw when they drafted him with the number 3 pick. So good stuff out of the Chargers. Really, really pleased to see this team continuing to fight, and I'm excited to watch the second half of the season. I really am. I know we're not quite at the halfway point yet, but it starts this Sunday now with the Broncos. They got to go on the road. If they can go on the road, if they can beat the Broncos twice in 3 weeks and go 3 straight victories, 2 of those on the road, back-to-back road wins, we might be having something to talk about now with this San Diego Chargers team. But I want to move on in the NFL here. The NFL has a hypocrisy problem, and I'm sick of it. Now, again, I said this earlier. I might be beating a dead horse here. You might already know what I'm about to talk about. And that's fine. It's one of the downfalls of a weekly podcast, and I'm okay with that. Doesn't mean I'm going to ignore it, though. Josh Brown, New York Giants kicker, ex-kicker by the time this is being recorded and by the time you're listening to this podcast, abused his wife for years, his ex-wife. Sheriff's Department, they had journal entries from him. He's admitted it. Says he never struck her. And that abuse has many different shapes, many different forms. Okay. Here's my problem. You had to kind of do some digging to hear about this story. It got bigger as the days went on, sure. But, compared to I got plenty of examples. Deflategate, Antonio Brown twerking and getting fined for it. Pretty much everything that Odell Beckham Jr. does. Marshawn Lynch not talking to the media last couple years. This Josh Brown story was swept under the rug when you look at it compared to those stories. The NFL, we got to be role models, right? We need our players to be, guys that the kids can look up to. So let's destroy Josh Gordon for smoking weed. And let's fine Antonio Brown for dancing in the end zone. And let's suspend Tom Brady, the best player in the game for us, for a quarter of the season because he probably had a general idea of some, deflated footballs. My God, Ray Rice. We had the video. We had the video of him beating the hell out of his wife. And he gets a 2-game suspension. Granted, it was changed, and he was later suspended, and still, to this day, has not done anything in the NFL. But the NFL saw the video and goes, let's just wait and see what happens. Let's just let this thing play out. Let's not jump to any conclusions. And they suspended for 2 games. When Josh Gordon, around the same time, got suspended for an entire season for the third time that he got caught, smoking weed. It started the phrase that I saw online. It was messed up, but kind of true. You can hit Mary, you just can't hit Mary Jane. The NFL's policy. The NFL tried to sweep this under the rug, this whole Josh Brown abusing his wife thing. There was a report that a neighbor of Josh Brown's heard him and his wife yelling and him abusing her. And how he apparently tried to blackmail Josh Brown. Guess what? The Giants came knocking on his door, and Brown's ex-wife took care of it. Paid him off, threatened him, I don't know. You can make your own conclusions there. But they tried, the Giants knew about this abuse 2 years ago in 2014, and they didn't do anything about it. What is wrong with this organization? What is wrong with the NFL? Victor Cruz defended Josh Brown. Victor Cruz, who is going to stand behind him, was talking mess about Colin Kaepernick for kneeling during the anthem and protesting against police brutality and social injustices, right? Victor Cruz has a problem with that, but says he's going to defend his teammate. He's going to stand by his side. It's unfortunate. You're damn right it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for his wife, and it's unfortunate for his kids. It's not unfortunate for him that this is happening. It's well served. He should be in prison. How can you defend that? Brown tried to go back on his words and blame the media. But he is quoted as saying, I stand behind my teammate. Unbelievable. Like I said, the NFL will openly go after Tom Brady for some deflated footballs. Antonio Brown twerking in the end zone, going to get fined like $25,000. Odell Beckham Jr. doing pretty much anything, getting fined. Marshawn Lynch just not wanting to talk to the media, fined. Because we got to have these role models, right? But they're going to let Josh Brown just pretty much slide. Now, he's being removed. He got paid leave for the team's game in London last week. And he's kicked off. He's been released by the Giants. So I guess you could say justice served. Paul, what are you getting so excited about? Okay, whatever. The fact is that it got to that point. The Giants knew about this 2 years ago. And when I saw that, it immediately reminded me of Ray Rice when the NFL had the video And they try to cover it up and just say, oh, let's just wait and see what happens. And then with all the backlash, then they decide to suspend him for the season. I don't get it. The NFL has so many issues. And this isn't the first time that they've been hypocrites, and it's not going to be the last, unfortunately, but I am getting sick of it. I really am. All right, I'm going to wrap things up here on the podcast, episode 29 of the Rondo Report. Got to finish it off. Got to finish strong, right? Hot takes. Oh, my God. Here's a hot take. NFL Sunday game of the week on NBC, right? Seahawks Cardinals. Worst football game that I've ever seen in my life. Absolutely terrible. 6-6 tie. Missed field goals. Chip shots. Not a single touchdown scored in the game. And you know, you could say, well, that was two great defenses. Can't you appreciate that? Yeah, I can. Those are two good defenses. Seattle's been great for a couple years now, okay? They're one of the better defenses out there. They're going to go down, you know, in history, you're going to look at this era of Seahawks defense. Sure. They're good. Arizona, they're good as well. But this was more a product of two terrible offenses going up against good defenses than it was good defenses just being better than decent offenses. You know, are you following me here? There was no offense in this game, and it was sad to watch. It was terrible. Tip of the cap. I mean, Arizona had possession, I think, like 48 minutes of the game, and they only scored 6 points. That's a testament to Seattle, limiting them to 6 points on like 91 plays. Not bad. Good job. That's also a testament to how bad the Cardinals played. And this is a Cardinals team that I picked to go to the Super Bowl. I thought they had it all heading into the season. Minnesota was one of my picks prior to Bridgewater. I'm not gonna take credit and just try to look good now. Prior to Bridgewater going down, Minnesota's one of my picks. I think they're one of the favorites now in the NFC. Them in Dallas. Get to that later. But I thought Arizona was going to be good. And Arizona's not bad this year, but they were bad on Sunday. I could not believe it. It became entertaining at the end. When Catanzaro missed the field goal for Arizona. And then Hauschka misses a chip shot for Seattle. And we end in a tie. It was terrible to watch. And I just had to end it on that note. One of the worst games I've ever seen. And it just made me sick to my stomach. I mean, come on. All that time. And not a single touchdown was scored. I'm so glad I took a nap through the first half. And woke up just upset that I was going to even watch the rest of that game. But it is what it is. All right, that's going to do it this week. Thanks for tuning in. As always, you can go on to iTunes and get all the podcasts. Just subscribe right there. Get them straight to your phone, your computer, however you listen to your iTunes podcasts. You can subscribe. You can leave me a nice comment if you'd like. I'm not going to complain about it. You can also go to the rindoreport.blogspot.com. All the interviews, all the podcasts, everything's archived right there for you. And I got nothing else to say this week. Go Chargers. We'll talk next week. Got a big game against the Broncos on Sunday. See if they can get back into this AFC West race and into the postseason picture. We'll just have to wait and see. Going to be a lot to talk about by the time we get back here with the NBA starting up, World Series fully underway. Lots coming up to talk about. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week.